Okay, so I suppose we can start with the introduction. Hi everyone, I'm Priya Sharma. I'm from ALC Indore, that is Apache local community. We are a small group of enthusiastic open source people who want to bring the best from the open source industry in front of you all and promote about open source technologies, especially those under the Apache Software Foundation. So here is yet another session from our side. This is about Apache DolphinScheduler. It is a top level project under the Apache Software Foundation. We have got amazing speakers for the event today. Please meet William Guo. He is a ASF member and he has over 16 years of experience in the big data industry. He has worked on various senior positions in firms like Teradata, IBM, Lenovo Research, and he's currently the CTO of Analysis International, focused on big data product management. And please meet our second guest. That is, am I audible? Right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
we
you,
can hear.
William. And the second part of the session will be delivered by Jay Jeong. He also have an experience of around 6+ years in the big data industry. He's currently working as a data engineer with Whale Open Source Technology in Beijing, China, and he's also committed to the Apache Airflow project. Thank you, William and Jay, for your time and energy that you're putting in. Thank you so much. So over to you, William.
Okay. Thank you, Priya, and thank you for all to join Apache DolphinScheduler's meetup. And first session is I want to talk about big data infrastructure with Apache DolphinScheduler. And as Priya introduced, I'm ASF member and also the PMC of Apache DolphinScheduler and a mentor of Apache cTunnel, and also the founder of ClickHouse China community, and also a track chair of workflow and data governance of Apache ApacheCon Asia. Today, I want to introduce about three parts of my session. The first is the challenges of big data workflow orchestration. The second part is introduction of a DolphinScheduler. And the last part is a use case of a DolphinScheduler. Actually, there are many Apache projects in modern data stacks and the data ops in enterprise. You can see the architecture like this. There are two ways of the data processing in our enterprise. The first way is real-time data processing. We call it streaming data. We can collect the data from the sensors or IoT devices or web logs or social media. And then we can use Apache cTunnel agent to collect the data from these these devices or servers. And then we can put it into Kafka, or we just can put into the cTunnel engine or to the Flink or through the Spark to the we call it OLAP engine like Doris, ClickHouse, or Redshift, and then we can use the superset or use other BI tools to view the real-time dashboard. And the second way of the data is we call it batch data. We will collect the data from a MySQL or relational database like Oracle or Aurora on AWS or cloud data or NoSQL data. Then we can use cTunnel to do the data integration and the data extract to the data warehouse or data lake like Hive or Hoodie. And then we can extract them to the Snowflake or Teradata, some data warehouse software. And then DolphinScheduler is just like orchestration tools to handle all the real-time job and the batch data, big data jobs. And also it can handle the workflow of data scientist job, like I'm ops job or AI jobs, such as TensorFlow, MLflow, or PyTorch, or Kubeflow, or SageMaker. And then you can use DolphinScheduler to handle the workflow of the data preparation of the first part, and also you can use the DolphinScheduler to handle the AI workflow when you do the data training or model training or do AI models. And then you can use a Citano connector to ETL the result back to the operation database or other other social media or other things. So this is a large the big picture of the Apache projects in modern data stacks in enterprise. And today I want to introduce DolphinScheduler. And why we use DolphinScheduler? Actually, before we use DolphinScheduler, we have many challenges in our orchestration in workflow. The first is bad performance and low latency. Because we in the last company we have a very large amount of the task, and workflow may crash, and the latency is very high. Especially, we have many batch job, about I think is more than 100,000 tasks in our last company. So the latency is very high in 0 o'clock every day, because there are many batch job will start at that time. And actually we used Airflow before, so we have to divide it the whole workflow into many pieces. So it's very hard to build trigger and dependency map, because there are so many different and small instances of Airflow. So what we want to build a workflow engine that can offer good performance, and we can run the whole workflow in one cluster, not many instances. So DolphinScheduler has a design of multi-master and a multi-worker design, and based on 2.0, DolphinScheduler can run 3.5 tasks per second with 3 servers. So the performance is very good. And the second challenge we met before is complex workflow code. And because in the last company we have many data scientists and data analysts who only are very professional about the SQL or algorithm, but they didn't know how to build workflow with code. And many times they just build the workflow, and they're very easy to fail, especially written by some SQL developers. So it's very hard to review the code of the workflow of them written. So and it's very difficult to debug and operate the workflows. So what we want is to let everybody can build their workflow very easily, and then we just create a DolphinScheduler that everybody can just drag and drop to create the workflow, and to run and to click or to run the workflow just in the UI, not in the code. Though we can let developers who are not familiar with workflow code, or like a SQL programmer, just paste the SQL into the text box in the UI, and then can drag and drop to create a workflow. So the at that time, the data analyst is very professional on this, so it's very easy to use. And the challenge 3, sorry, I think that the number is wrong. The challenge 3 is hard to manage real-time job and batch job together, because in nowadays we have not only Hadoop or Spark jobs, but we also have like Spark streaming or Flink jobs. When the Flink jobs, if you have only 10 or 20 Flink jobs, it's easy to manage. But when you have more than 100 Flink jobs, then it's very hard to manage, because there also are some dependencies between these Flink jobs. For example, a job is just synchronize data from MySQL to Kafka, and the second job is synchronize the data from Kafka to Hudi. Then actually these two jobs they have some relationships, but you cannot manage them very well. So DolphinScheduler can handle both real-time job and the batch job together. Then it's very easy for you to handle the data quality control between Kafka to data lake, and from the data lake to data warehouse, because without a workflow who can control the real time and the batch job together, they will be separated into two workflow management clusters. So the solution for DolphinScheduler is to support both jobs in one DAG. So you can create a Flink job, and then you can add a batch job. Depends on the Flink jobs. So it's very good. It's a good news for the user who have many Flink jobs. And the challenge 4 is lack of access and resource control. And now in old days, task access control mainly depends on the code review, and some of the tools have a simple concept of a project of groups and users, but they do not have the access control, and only some of the user can use and change the projects. So the DolphinScheduler create a bunch of access control and resource control features, such as a multi-tenancy, that you can divide different project workflow with the young tenant or your Linux tenant. So thus you can control the whole resource, and also it can limit task number threshold that can let every user group not to use the all resource of your data warehouse, or you can let each group have their own we call it work group to use the different resource at the same time. And also we met some other challenge like backfill data process. Because there are always some error in data, and sometimes if we use the workflow engine, we have to use the backfill data from 1 day or even 1 month to backfill the data of a long time period of time. So DolphinScheduler is very easy to use, because you can use the DolphinScheduler to backfill the data using a special data is from a data range from for example from the first of the months and to the end of the months, and you can control the tasks in serial mode or parallel mode. That means you can run the 30 workflow at the same time, or you can just run the workflow one by one, or you can run the workflow like you have a 5 parallel thread, then you can run 5 workflow at the same time and another 5 at the next time. So I think the backfill of backfill data, the function of a Dolphin scheduler is very powerful. And also, it's very hard to build dependent across workflow or projects before. For example, we cannot depend, weekly tasks always depend on daily task, or monthly task will depend on daily task. So in old days, we cannot detect whether the daily tasks are successfully executed without a very good of task type. And also sometimes there are 2 tasks in 2 different teams, and they depends on each other. So Dolphin scheduler has a task named dependent, and then you can use the task which depends on different cycles or depends on other projects. So it's very useful task for us. And also we met some problem like the data quality control. And you know, the data quality is very important, but sometimes we always find the data quality after the whole workflow. And sometimes we can control the data quality before we found the whole workflow, before the last part of the workflow runs, and then Dolphin scheduler has a task named data quality task, and then it can charge the current data quality status. If there are some violations of the data quality rules, the task will send an alert, and you can choose whether it's failed. So it will save your time for the whole workflow. And there are also other things like task retry. Sometimes Hadoop, you know, the Hadoop resource is limited. Sometimes you cannot run the MapReduce job. They will be success at the first time. You have to retry. So in old days, we have to type some group like while, and if a success, and then run and then it can continue. But in Dolphin scheduler, you can just type the retry times on the UI, so it's very easy to use, especially if your Hadoop is very busy. And thus we met several challenges on big data workflow. So we just open sourced the Dolphin scheduler about 4 years ago, and then Dolphin scheduler is now the top level Apache projects. And so I just introduced the Dolphin scheduler. And Dolphin scheduler is distributed and extensible workflow orchestration platform with very powerful UI. And it can solve the complex task dependency and data pipeline and provide various types of jobs. The UI is just like the right side picture. You just click and drag and drop to create the workflow, and then you can type. You can edit your code in the task, and you can just deploy by just click the mouse and run the workflow, just click the house and handle the arrow and tuning the performance just in the UI. So I think it's the first feature of the DolphinScheduler. And now we support many task types like a Spark, MapReduce, Python, Shell, SQL procedure, SQL, and also like Scoop or Citano or other AI tools. So it's very easy to create a workflow with a code. And the architect of the DolphinScheduler is designed with multi-worker and multi-master design. And it can run Kubernetes very well. So you can extend master or extend worker online. That means you can have many master servers and many worker servers. As far as we know, the biggest cluster of a DolphinScheduler is about 70 servers of a DolphinScheduler to handle the very large numbers of workflow. And so here are some comparisons of a DolphinScheduler, Azkaban, and Airflow. And if you are interested, I just go through them very quickly. I think the stability and easy to use and extensibility and some features are very good in DolphinScheduler. And also many other features of a DolphinScheduler which are supported. And the community of a DolphinScheduler is very active. So the features are growing very fast. Now the DolphinScheduler is the newest version of DolphinScheduler is 3.1, and I think DolphinScheduler can release just 1 month per version. So it's the communities are very active, and so I want to introduce some new features of 3.1. In 2.0, there are many features like a drag and drop. We call it what you see and what you get workflow, and high reliability, and rich workflow functions, and also cloud native and extensibility. And in 3.10, we support machine learning orchestration. That means you can use a SageMaker, DVC, Jupyter, PyTorch, or OpenMDB in DolphinScheduler in your workflow. And just you drag and drop the task to create the workflow in SageMaker. And also the DolphinScheduler support real-time, like Flink and Spark streaming. And also it support not only drag and drop, but also support YAML file to generate workflow or Python to generate workflow. And it's easy for you to code review and deployment if you are a programmer, not a SQL writer. And also it supports Kubernetes very well because we add a Kubernetes operator and a Kubernetes task in 3.10. So the whole thing is just a drag and drop to create the workflow before. And DolphinScheduler have a multi-level of monitoring. You can see the we call them workflow instance, the status of the instance. If you run a workflow, a new instance will be created. So when you modify the instance, it will not affect the template of the workflow. So you can monitor the whole instance and see the task status, and also you can view the log of your task. For example, you can view the log of a Spark or Hadoop. You needn't to log on the Hadoop server or log on the Spark server. You just click the view log on the UI, then you can view the SageMaker, Spark, Flink, or any work engine, compute engine logs on your DolphinScheduler UI. So it's very easy for you to create a new data source on DolphinScheduler, and it can reuse in your workflow and in your projects. That means you needn't to create the whole the Spark or Oracle or other password many times, or you needn't let your developer to know the password. You can just create the data source password and manage by your admin, and they can just quote use the data source in their task. And also there are many interesting tasks, such as like condition task. That means just like a if then in your task workflow, and there will be two tasks before or one task, and then when the parameter is one way or the task is a success or failed, there will be run in different way, different workflow, sub workflow in the future. And also we support like a switch task or other like a dependent task. It's we call it a logical task. It can handle the whole workflow. You can create the complex workflow with these logical tasks, such like a condition task. And also we support multi-cloud and a multi-Kubernetes cluster and a multi-big data environment. That means you can support different Kubernetes or big data cluster in different places, such like in Europe, in American, or in Asia. You have a 3 cluster of big data or Kubernetes. You can just create a different and manage a different environment in DolphinScheduler. And so some new features of a DolphinScheduler now. You can, if you want to create some workflow with Python, now we can support Python to create a new workflow. And also we support YAML file to create a workflow if you want. And also some new features of machine learning ops. That means you can use DolphinScheduler to handle the workflow of preparation data, and also to handle the workflow of training data in SageMaker. And then you can use the DolphinScheduler for deployment or testing or other things. So machine learning workflow in DolphinScheduler can be we call it a sub workflow and the whole workflow. So that means this is a workflow. For example, this is a workflow A, and it can be a sub workflow B of the other in the other workflow. So you can create the DAG very easily, and to manage the complex DAG very easily. That means you use the sub workflow just like a function in your programming, and because we support different parameter just to the sub workflow, and you can reuse the whole sub workflow in many different places and many different DAGs. And also we support here is an example of a Spark and a SageMaker. You can just use a Spark to preparing the data, and the SageMaker in AWS to training the data and deploy the data. And the SageMaker is just like a sub workflow in DolphinScheduler. So we just introduced the DolphinScheduler, and here I want to introduce a small use case of a Cisco. And actually, DolphinScheduler is trusted by many industry leaders. And there are more than 3,000 industries who use DolphinScheduler, like IBM, Tencent, Cisco, China Unicom, and Nokia, Lenovo, Accenture, and many companies. And I think there are three main scenarios who use DolphinScheduler to solve their problem. The first is China Unicom. China Unicom is to use DolphinScheduler to solve the problem of many tasks of their own. They have, I think they have more than 1 million of tasks in their big data platform, because China Unicom has 31 provinces warehouse, and also more than 200 cities data mart, and they handle the whole task in one workflow orchestration platform. And they tried Azkaban, Airflow, and other commercial orchestration tools. China Unicom finally chose the DolphinScheduler because DolphinScheduler can match their business and scheduling function needs, and they can match large data volume requirements, and it's very easy to use because they have more than 1,000 SQL developers and data analysts in 31 provinces in China. So they educated them. It's very hard. So they just use DolphinScheduler. It's very easy to use to train the SQL developer and data analyst to use DolphinScheduler. And also Alibaba Cloud and Ping An in China also use DolphinScheduler. So the first scenario, we call it a high performance and high volume of task scheduling. And the second scenario is, we call it a global cloud deployment with ease of use of data consumers. The first is Shein. Shein is just like a Flipkart in India, but it's a global commercial e-commerce company, which is very famous now. And Shein used Airflow before, but Airflow cannot support Kubernetes very well, and they have several global cloud deployment, and they want to handle the data consumers difficulties to use the code to create the workflow. So they use DolphinScheduler to create a cluster of DolphinScheduler on Kubernetes, on AWS. Then they can support the whole big data workflow in their company. The similar use case is Cisco, McDonough, and VMware. And I will introduce Cisco after in this session. And also the third use scenario is AI and machine learning orchestration. The use case is LegiFM and 360, because LegiFM has many tasks of data preparation and also the training model task. They want to reuse the training model task in several places, and it's several models. So the how to reuse the process of a training, like PyTorch, and also perhaps they want to use DBC plus PyTorch, and they just create a workflow for DBC and PyTorch together, and I reuse this workflow as a sub workflow in other places, in other workflows. So LeGFM use DolphinScheduler because is efficient computing of a massive data task and a reusable machine learning process. And the DAG execution engine of DolphinScheduler is very powerful because it's a multi-master and multi-worker design. So it's the use case from a Cisco WebEx. You can Google DolphinScheduler and Cisco for video and some articles. And here is the DolphinScheduler with the Kubernetes integration of Cisco. On the left side, you see here is the DolphinScheduler, multi-master, multi-worker. And for Cisco, there are several Kubernetes clusters. I think they're in Europe and US and in Asia, I think. So they use a DolphinScheduler to handle the different Kubernetes cluster in different ETL jobs and Flink and Spark jobs. And here they use because DolphinScheduler support multi cluster of Kubernetes management. They just to manage different Kubernetes clusters, and also DolphinScheduler can manage the different namespace in Kubernetes cluster, so they can set CPU and memory limit for each namespace on different Kubernetes clusters. Then they can separate the resource pools for multi-tenancy. And also they use DolphinScheduler to control different ETL jobs in different Kubernetes clusters. So you see here is the US dashboard, the Europe, EU dashboard, and the dashboard on AWS. So they can use a DolphinScheduler cluster to handle all the ETL jobs in one cluster, and they can centralize centralize management for the different multiple data centers across the world, and they are both on private data center and a public cloud. So DolphinScheduler can support we call it hybrid cloud jobs workflow in different places. So and because DolphinScheduler is very easy to use, they just generate complex pipeline by drag and drop. There is no coding required. And for DolphinScheduler, and you can automatic scaling when the resource is limited, and also the whole thing is stateless. And DolphinScheduler can support UDF and job version management. So they do, and Cisco just develop their own new task, because if you want to develop some new task on DolphinScheduler, it's very easy, because we use SPI design, and then Cisco just developed their task support on Snowflake, and they support upsert feature for Snowflake Spark connector, and also support the sync selection. So it's very easy to extend the DolphinScheduler to handle your new data source if now the open source version not supported. And here is some resource of DolphinScheduler. The first website, you can just visit dolphinscheduler.apache.org to see the whole functions. And we have a GitHub. And also you can use the email for dev@dolphinscheduler.apache.org, or you can join the Slack channel for us. And also we have some Twitter, and we have some demos. And if you want to see the demo, you want to see the users, want to log in the demos, you just ask it in the Slack channel. We can help you to see the demos. So this is the end of my introduction. I think DolphinScheduler is a smart, easy, and a stable data job orchestration tools for all of us. And you can contact me on LinkedIn, or you can email me, or you can follow my Twitter in web. And I don't know whether you have some questions for my part. If anyone have some questions, you can unmute, and I can answer your questions. Or you can raise your hand. I can see what.
Yeah, I have a question if you allow me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As my understanding, this is considered as a workflow engine, right?
Yes. Yes.
So how can I deal with the multi-topics for a multi-data entity? For example, in Kafka, I can deal with this to build multi-topics. How can orchestrate or manage multi-data entities in terms of DolphinScheduler?
You mean you have multi topics in Kafka, and you mean you want to handle the Kafka multi topics in DolphinScheduler? Is that right? Or you?
Yes. That's mean I have multi-categorization in data itself. So each data will require a different logic. How can scheduler or Dolphin scheduler will give me ability to manage different logic with different data categorization?
Because I think DolphinScheduler is workflow orchestration tools. Actually, it cannot compute the data, you know. So when you use Kafka different topics, you have to use, for example, MapReduce or use different Splink, right? So in DolphinScheduler, the different Flink will be different jobs in DolphinScheduler, just like this page. You can use different Flink program and different MapReduce program to handle the different topics. And when you have for example, you have a Flink A or MapReduce B, and then you can drag and drop to create a task in DolphinScheduler to handle the dependency and the trigger on DolphinScheduler. So DolphinScheduler cannot handle the topic of the Kafka because DolphinScheduler can only handle the computation jobs in different environment. so am I clear?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Any other questions? So if there are no other questions, you can just visit the website and to join the Slack, you can ask the question in Slack. We can answer you very quickly on Slack. So this is the end of my part. And Zhenghui, please handle handle the privilege to the second part.
Thank you so much, William.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, can you see my screen sharing?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thanks, William. Give out a great presentation, and he also posts a great picture of workflow orchestration. Most of what you need to know about DolphinScheduler has been mentioned by William. But in this part, I will share as an ordinary user to explain why we should use DolphinScheduler and how to use it step by step. Hello everyone, I'm Jay Chang. I'm the Apache DolphinScheduler PMC member and committer. Also, I'm the data engineer and well ops. You can contact me via Twitter or GitHub. Mostly I will online in GitHub. This presentation is about DolphinScheduler introduction. And the first thing I want to talk about is what is DolphinScheduler. Before talking about DolphinScheduler, I would like to talk about workflow first, because workflow is closely linked to DolphinScheduler. You know, DolphinScheduler is a tool for workflow orchestration. The definition of workflow is the sequence of steps to finish the work from initiation to complete. Yes, that's it, but it's just a definition. We still don't know what exactly workflow is, even though we know the meaning of each word in the sentence. So let's give an example about workflow in our real life. You know, we all like examples. How about we give an example about how can I go to work every day? Every day I go to work by bike. The step I separated into 4 steps. First of all, I have to go downstairs, and then I have to go to bus station. During this time, I may wait for the bus coming. When the bus is coming, I have to get on the bus, and the bus will take me to our company. When I arrive at company, I have to get off the bus, and that's it. That's a typical workflow in our real life. As you can see, the job I have to do is separating into 4 steps, and each of them is sequencing. I cannot skin anyone to get my job done. So workflow is that. And as you know, DolphinScheduler is a workflow orchestration tool. So what is workflow? So what is DolphinScheduler? Here is a brief introduction in DolphinScheduler website. It's a distribution and extensible workflow scheduler platform with powerful DAG visual interface. It can use 4 keywords to explain what is DolphinScheduler. The first word I want to describe is workflow scheduler platform. As a above example, we can know what is workflow is, and we have real examples about the workflow. But what is the platform is? The platform is do all things I should do, but I do not like to do it, and to make sure my workflow can be done. You know, the platform is make people lazy and give more job to the platform. It can do the complete dependencies. Also, it can help us to elimination the resource. And when the test fail, it can do the retries job and send alert to exponential users. When we try to correct our data in data warehouse, it can do the backfill job. Also, we can mention our workflow, and the platform will explore matrix to us, and that's workflow scheduler platform is. The second keyword I want to talk about is powerful DAG visual interface. As William talked about, the first choice we use in DolphinScheduler is drag and drop. So you can see the drag and drop is the first function we want to try. We want to create a workflow. But Dolphin Scheduler is not only drag and drop. It can also use in API, both Python API and Open API. And I will give an example in the later. Besides, we also support YAM definition. Means you can define a workflow via YAM file. And the next keyword I want to talk about is distribution. It means high available and performance. Because Dolphin Scheduler is a decentralization, so we can export our cluster sensitive. Also, it's native HA Queen. It means it can handle a lot of the tasks. And the fourth word I want to talk about is extensible. In Dolphin Scheduler, we have 14 tasks. Also, we support 11 data sources in Dolphin Scheduler. It means you have a lot of choice in Dolphin Scheduler. Whatever you use as a data warehouse or you use in ML ops. After introduce Dolphin Scheduler, so we will tell you how to create your very first workflow step by step. It's very useful for the new one. First of all, you have to log in the Dolphin Scheduler web UI, and then you can go to the project tab. During the project tab, there is a workflow definition tab. Click it, and then you click the create workflow button to create your very first workflow. In this time, workflow only in your page. It's not sent to the database. And the next step, you have to create your test in the workflow. You can see the next picture. You can drag and drop the shell task into the platform, and then you fill the parameter of the task. In this example, we use the node name and the Scrappy for the shell task. And then we can use the same way to create multiple tasks. In this example, we create 4 of the tasks. Both of them are the shell tasks. After create the task, we have to make the dependencies because the workflow is a DAG. DAG means the task and the dependencies. Just like the task creating, we use drag and drop to create the dependencies of tasks. After the task dependency is created, we have to save our workflow into the database. You can easier to click the save button in the left, and then you only need to fill your workflow name and click the confirm, and the workflow will save in the database. After the workflow create, you can trigger it and online the workflow. It's also very easy. You can click. You have to first click the online workflow to make the workflow online, and then click the second button. It's the trigger by hand. After click, it will draw a new dialog. You can change the runtime, workflow runtime permission, and then click the confirm. The workflow will be run. Okay, let's recap it. First of all, we have to create a project because in Dolphin Scheduler, all the workflow belong a single project. And then we can drag and drop to create a workflow and then create a task and a task definition for it. After all the workflow element is settled down, we can click the save and click the online and trigger the workflow by ourselves. And that's it. That's how DolphinScheduler create a workflow with a web UI. But besides the creating, we have to monitor our workflow. When the workflow is finished or the workflow is running, we can click the workflow instance button, and it will show all the workflow instance in our page. During the page, you can click one of your interesting workflow instance, and then you can see the task instance in the workflow instance. If you want to see any task log, you can click the one and click the view log button. It will show as my screen sharing log here. So after I introduce, you can see it's very easier in DolphinScheduler to create a workflow with drag and drop. But as I talked about, DolphinScheduler not only can create workflow with web UI, it could also with API such as Python API and Open API. And in this part, I will give a brief introduction about Python API, what Python API is, and how to use it to create your very first workflow. Python API, aka PyDolphinScheduler, is a Python API for Apache DolphinScheduler, which allow you define your workflow by Python code, aka workflow as code. The core concept of PyDolphinScheduler is same as DolphinScheduler. It has the project, the workflow, the task, and the task definition, and the task relation. And the different thing is we use drag and drop to create our workflow during web UI. But in Python API, it all can be done by code. As you can see, the left picture, first of all, we import all we need in the Python API. In this example, we import process definition and the shell task. After all the things import, we have to declare what our workflow like. We have to name our workflow. In this example, the workflow name tutorial, and we have to set the scheduling time and the start time. Besides, we have to set the tenant to tell DolphinScheduler how to run this workflow and who can run it. Besides that, we declare 4 tasks with shell task type. Each of the tasks just equal the simple string. For example, the task primary just equal the hello PyDolphinScheduler string in our consoler. And that is how PyDolphinScheduler declare the task. After the task declare, we have to set the task relationship, just like we do in web UI. In PyDolphinScheduler, we can use ByOps or the set relation or set downstream function to set the relationship about tasks. After all done, we have to tell PyDolphinScheduler we have to run the workflow in the last. as you can see. The way to trigger PyDolphin scheduler is also easy. We can just use the Python in our terminal to call this function and these files. After this file call, we can go to our web UI to see what workflow we have just created, and the workflow is like the right side. We can see one task as a primary, and the other three is downstream. Okay, let's talk about how YAM define workflow. Currently, YAM define is a function bounding into PyDolphin scheduler. It means if you would like to use YAM definition to create workflow, you have to install PyDolphin scheduler first. It can convert the YAM file to workflow and let Dolphin scheduler know what it is and how to trigger it. The definition of YAM define is as left picture show. You can see it's very similar. It's just like the we define in PyDolphin scheduler. It has two sections. The first section is the workflow. We have to tell Dolphin scheduler what the workflow like and how to trigger it, like the scaling time. And the second part is the task. We also declare 4 tasks in our Py definition. And when we submit the YAM file to Dolphin scheduler, it will also create the workflow like we just create in vast PyDolphin scheduler, because the definition of done is the same. So you can see Dolphin scheduler can create workflow in both web UI and API. It's very useful. And in this session, I want to talk about why Dolphin scheduler is useful. And for the ordinary user, why we should choose Dolphin scheduler as our workflow orchestration. The first and the biggest difference between Dolphin scheduler and the other workflow orchestration is we not only for engineers. As we can see in currently and maybe we should talk it as a modern data stack. The common workflow scheduling system is only provide programming time, just like the Python API do. User can only create a workflow via the API, but the Dolphin scheduler is not only for engineer. We can not only create from web UI, but also via API. We prove the user-friendly web UI and also the API. So it means it's a good choice for your company if you have both developer and no developer who want to create and manage your workflow. As I know, there's many companies only create workflow by engineer, but some of them maybe has other choice. They want to create by not develop. I think it's the biggest difference between Dolphin scheduler and the other workflow orchestration. And the second part, William also talking about this. It's because DolphinScheduler not only supports bench workflow, it also supports real-time workflow. As we know, during this day, the increasing of data efficiencies is requirement. And we have a lot of real-time workflow in our data warehouse. And we can see both Azkaban and Airflow is focused on the batch workflow. But in our DolphinScheduler, we do not only support batch workflow, we also support the real-time one. So I can see in many companies has two tools to handle real-time job and the batch job. The not same level tools will cause a problem when the workflow connect, and if you want to get the line edge between the workflow, because the different system means we cannot easier to get the data line edge. We have to do more job between the two systems. But DolphinScheduler provided batch workflow and real-time workflow out of box, which means you can finish your job in the single choice, and you have one screen to monitor your workflow. And yes, that's about ML ops. Most of the workflow orchestration are focused on data warehouse. As William talking about, as Apache project, we have many top-level project to handle data warehouse job like Hadoop and Hive. But we found out some of our users would like to do the ML ops job in the workflow orchestration. Let me introduce what is ML ops first. It's about deploy and maintain the machine learning model in production. It means the user want to easy to deploy or training the machine learning models. And since DolphinScheduler 3.1, we support ML ops by task and by the features. And in the future version, maybe in 3.2, we will support more feature, not only the task, but also the features like the fire crash and the task the task we run in our DolphinScheduler. And currently, some teams use different tools for data warehouse and ML ops, just like the batch workflow and real-time workflow. They use the two different systems. So it may miss the same problem if they want to get the if they want to get the data line edge between two systems. And I think it's waste of the time because we can do it in the same system with DolphinScheduler. And it's the simple tool means we can not only training our machine learning model, but also the data preparation job can be done in DolphinScheduler, and we can pass the data smoothly to our machine learning model. And the last thing I want to talk about is aware expansion. As I know, some of the workflow orchestration have to distribute file when they expansion. But in DolphinScheduler, all our data is stored in database. So when the new workflow is created, there are no delay, and which means you can run it directly. And when you expansion, no file is required to distribute to the new node. For example, if we run a DolphinScheduler cluster and our task is increasing, in this time we want to expansion our worker task, the DolphinScheduler worker task, and other workflow orchestration have to distribute the DAG file to the new workflow node, but DolphinScheduler do not need it, which means you can save your time when you do some expansion job. And that's all. That's all I want to talk about DolphinScheduler, about the ordinary users, and why should they choose DolphinScheduler, and how DolphinScheduler create the workflow step by step. And the next part, I will talk about the communication. As an open source project, we know that the community is very important, because most of the bug can be found during the community, and we have many feature requests. We can make our product more useful and easy to use. So in this page, we will show you the users of DolphinScheduler. We can see we have the software and technology like IBM and VMware. Also, we have the SQL. We have the social network like Tencent, and the electronic commerce like Shein or Fodil. Besides the users, the integration of the DolphinScheduler is very important, because we want to give our users an out-of-box workflow orchestration. We already getting many open source workflow or date systems. You can see the Spark and the Flink is already in DolphinScheduler, which means you can handle the Spark or Flink job very easy. And also we support the ML ops related systems like PyTorch and ML4. We also support the cloud native in 3.0. Like we support many AWS tasks in DolphinScheduler. And the last thing I want to talk about is how to contest us. If you have trouble when you using DolphinScheduler, you can contact us easily via Slack, and we have the channel name troubleshooting. And when you post the message to the Slack, we will answer you first. And that's for the users. If you are a developer, you can join our developer email, DolphinScheduler developer email. It is on the sharing. And you can report the bug and post your feature requests in the mailing list or in GitHub issue, or even in GitHub pull request if you're interested about it. Besides that, in the developer mailing list, we will discussion the features or the roadmap in DolphinScheduler, and it's welcome to subscribe. And that's all. Thanks. I want to know if there are any question about my sharing, and you can unmute it and answer a question.
Any questions from anyone?
So actually, I have a question, but for the audience, actually, DolphinScheduler is a tool that you can drag and drop to create the workflow. I don't know whether people like drag and drop to create a workflow or just like to use Python to create a workflow. I don't know whether somebody or someone can answer that question. Which one do you like?
In my opinion, I think there are both ways possible. Like recently, we have been in our company trying to, move towards that stage that a non-technical person can create workflows and design the flows for future implementation or integration. So it might be useful in some scenarios, or in some other ways, people might want to include that using code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So do we have more questions coming?
Yeah, here is Eric, and I have a question. So, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, Eric, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, DolphinScheduler is an Apache project, and we all know there is a very famous motto in Apache, which is community over code. So also I heard that Apache DolphinScheduler have a very healthy and energetic community. So my question is, how do the maintainers of the project build and manage this community?
Okay, I can answer that question. It's a very good question. The first for open source projects, the large group of maintainers or committers will be based on the user group. So I think you can have a large amount of user group, and then you have some process like first good issue, and you will have if you have a very good document to how to contribute the code, then step by step, more and more people will be the contributors because they use DolphinScheduler and use the open source projects. Sometimes they can fix bugs, fix a small bugs at the first step, and then they can fix some complex bugs. And then some of them can develop their own new functions for the community. So I think three main points of a good open source community. The first is a large amount of users. The second is the good documentation for how to contribute. The third is you have to choose some we call it first good issue or some issues for the beginners of the community. So I think that's the answer.
Thank you, William. Do we have more questions?
Okay, can I ask one more question?
Of course.
So May I ask what are the cloud native features of Apache DolphinScheduler?
First, you can deploy DolphinScheduler on Kubernetes. It can support just like what I introduced. It can support jobs running on different Kubernetes, Spark on Kubernetes, Flink on Kubernetes, and also you can deploy DolphinScheduler itself on Kubernetes. And you can search and find the deploy way on our website. And now we support master and worker are deployed on DolphinScheduler on Kubernetes, and we are planning to support you deploy master on pod, the Kubernetes pod, and you needn't to deploy worker on the pod at the first time, and the master will use the master will deploy the worker on Kubernetes pod as soon as they need a worker is created. So, but it is on the plan. So now you can deploy DolphinScheduler, both master and worker on Kubernetes pod very easily. And we have some Docker image and also have MI image on AWS.
That's cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon, can you please mute your self? We are having a lot of noise. Yeah, thank you so much. Anyone else having any questions? So yes, if you guys are interested in knowing more about Apache DolphinScheduler, you can follow us on LinkedIn, Apache Local Community, and we'll keep posting updates on future events on Apache DolphinScheduler or any other Apache projects. So please follow us there and keep yourself updated. Thank you so much, William and Jay. It was such an amazing session. I'm sure people might have got a lot to learn. I myself got a lot to learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks all.
Thank you everyone for joining and giving your precious time to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Priya.
See you later.
Thank you all. Thanks
Bye.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.